Alright guys, welcome back to another one of my videos here, and this is my video on my gun cab. So I'm really excited about this one to talk to you guys about this because, usually, you guys know I have the big Oliveira arcade machine, which is where my old guns used to be, on this big machine here, which kind of houses like everything that I own, or basically every game that's possible is basically on there. And I usually only like to add things that are, since I don't have a limited room in here, arcade machines that do something different than the others. So I contemplated the idea, do I really want a separate gun cabinet when people come over? And I came to the conclusion that I needed this because I think it's cool to be able to tell people like, hey, when you come over, hey, fighters are on that machine. Gun machines are on this machine. Cocktail style games are in the other room. Pinball is on this side, stuff like that. So I came to the conclusion that I wanted a gun cabinet, so I started looking around and I came to find Game Room Solutions, one of the only ones that make this, this style of gun cabinet, and especially at the perfect size. This is a 24-inch screen, and I couldn't get, or either 22 or 24, I kind of forgot already. And I couldn't get anything bigger because I wanted it to kind of mimic the size of, I didn't want a full-size cabinet in here for just gun games because, again, I'm limited on space, and this kind of matches the other machines that I have from Arcade 1-Up and some of the other machines. So this was a perfect middle ground because this is better, a bigger version of Arcade 1-Up as you're looking at here. So I'm really excited to talk about with you guys. It's not just the cabinet that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the actual interface for the gun cabinet, and I'll tell you guys about who I got that from and how you guys can get a gun cabinet set up really easily. And of course, we got to talk about the guns because we're using Gun4IR, and I used to have, well, technically these still are the same guns from Ultimark, and I'll talk about how much better these are and how I had this set up with this cabinet. So let's go ahead and get into the video.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a brekkie is the gaming tech. Gaming techie is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
Alright guys, so quick overview first on the cabinet itself. So again, this is the the Game Room Solutions cabinet. And you guys know I sometimes have issues with, Game Room Solutions as far as their instructions. Luckily, I think the instructions, as far as this setup goes, is probably the only complaint I have about this cabinet. Was just the actual instructions. Everything else came up really, really well on here. The red looks really good on there. The artwork on the top, I wish it lit up, but I can light that up myself with just adding some LED strips on the back if I want to, really easily. Fits the screen there really nicely. It has the nice black border that they started doing on their cabinet, so the screen's not just sitting there, but it kind of you can't actually see the exterior of the TV, which is pretty nice. Has a nice little artwork here. I, of course, chose the Jurassic Park as you guys are looking at. I love the style of how this looks. The holsters here fit these guns really well. They don't fall all the way in. As you can see, it kind of just stands there. They fit really well in there, and I think they're perfect in there. These style of buttons here for having everything labeled is really fantastic. Don't mind this button that's upside down. The only other caveat that I have is they gave me all the wiring for this, but unfortunately the wiring doesn't reach this button all the way through, so I basically have it, it doesn't fit all the way through to make this straight, so basically I have another wire coming in, so that will be fixed here shortly, but it doesn't matter to you guys. Just know that's going to be fixed, obviously, and it was because the Game Room Solutions wire just didn't reach for me all the way over there with the way I have this set up. But yeah, I love the artwork. The artwork that obviously they printed it for me. I think it looks fantastic. They do a good job with printing out artwork for you. I have no issues with that. It looks fantastic, this Jurassic Park one. Really, really like the theme on how this looks. Again, the only thing I may do is eventually light this up. Maybe, I haven't decided, because the one next to it isn't lit up either, and neither is that one over there. So I don't know. I'll have to decide later. But either way, fantastic looking cabinet. Let me show you the side art here. Of course, we have the Jurassic Park. It's the same on both sides here, and then of course the dinosaur that you're looking at on the exterior of the back box. So this thing sits really tall. As you guys are looking at, it's definitely taller than an Arcade 1-Up and even taller than the IR arcade sitting right next to it. And of course you can make it a little shorter if you don't use the bottom box. It has, of course, the so you can stand it up in there. So if you don't want to use it and you want to just use the cabinet and you don't want to use the riser, that's fine, and then it won't be as tall. But I like it with the riser, and I like the height. I think it's perfect for shooting games, as far as, at least for me, who is 6 feet. So really, really good job with this one on Game Room Solutions. I really like everything about it. I don't really have too many complaints besides the wiring not reaching all the way over there. and then the instructions are literally terrible. Luckily, I found a guy, Drew Talks online, who actually had this cabinet, and he did a pretty decent job of showing you how it's laid out. It's not like a one-to-one tutorial, but you can figure it out by watching his video on what goes where. So thank God for his video, because the Game Room Solutions instructions, as usual, that come with it are literally garbage. Almost pointless to come in the box. It helps a little bit, but like it's very easy for them to fix too. They can literally just add, like, you know, like IKEA does, like, hey, this piece is labeled A, and when you look at the instructions, it says put label, you know, piece A on piece B. But in this case, they're not labeled, and the pictures that they give you on the instructions are literally printed like as small as possible, so you can't even tell what they are. So literally, Game Room Solutions, if you're listening, all you got to do is label the pieces, add the stickers on the pieces that say A, B, C, or D, and at the bare minimum, make the pictures of your instructions bigger so I can at least see them, because they're basically impossible to see. Anyway, luckily there was a video out there that I could follow, so it wasn't too much of a struggle, but the instructions were basically worthless that came in the box. But at least they did come with instructions, which is something I didn't have happen, you know, on a previous pinball machine I had from them a couple of years ago. So kudos to that, I guess. Moving on along, let's talk about the actual guns. So as I talked about, these are my Ultimark guns. These are ones that a lot of people are familiar with. They were the ones I had on my old system, the Ultimark ones, and these do have recoil on them. I usually, like I said, I had them on here before, and you guys can kind of see here on top. This is what the Ultimark, I don't know if you can see that because I'm kind of in the reflection, but up there in the corner is the actual IR sensor that it was using. So it had an IR sensor up there, and that's what it was using to track, and it went on the top of your screen. And it kind of felt like a Wii remote to me. Like, that's a lot of people compare the Ultimark to. It's great that we can finally play gun games, because gun games obviously usually don't work on on newer TVs. And it basically made it work like a gun remote. It wasn't as accurate, but the worst problem was that anytime you moved from a different area of where you were standing before, you always had to recalibrate it because it didn't know where the center of the screen was. So that was always a pain, and again, it wasn't like as fast and accurate as it could be. So we had that problem. So here comes Gun4IR and their solution. And basically what they do is, you know, the guy that I reached out to, again, his link will be in the description below. He's been fantastic. You know, he got me these guns literally within 2 days of me sending it to him. And I had it right back when I sent it to him. So basically, you send them your own guns, and you can send them whatever. He can mod any guns you probably have. You'll have to talk to him. But I had the Ultimark ones. He can mod any ones you want. I got both of these modded, and he adds basically a camera inside and mods that gun out, and includes these sensors. Now, he does have either wireless sensors, or he also has wired sensors, depending on what your setup is. For people who are going to use this cabinet, I think the wireless sensors are definitely better. As you can see, I know that in the light right now, you can definitely see that they're on there. Like, you need 4, so you got the one there, and this is exactly how they should be pointing if you got this cabinet. They should be facing towards you, the little LEDs. As you can see, they should be facing towards you, and that's how they're set up correctly. But when the lights are off, and I'll show you that during gameplay, but as you can see, when the lights are off and you're just playing games down here in the arcade room with, you know, the arcade lights that I have on and everything, like my wife said, you could barely see those sensors at all, because there's obviously no light from them that you can see with your naked eye. So those black boxes basically disappear on there. And I'm really happy with the wireless ones. They each use AA batteries, so I just got some rechargeable AA's. They last like over 40 hours with AA's, so they last a really long time. And there's an on and off switch on them, and they're put on by you know, Velcro, and they hang on really well. They've never fallen off or anything on there, and it works perfect with this thing. Now again, they also have a wired version that you could wire and never have to worry about batteries and stuff, but for this cabinet and the way that this screen is set up, I think the wireless is the better option. But you can decide that on your own. But that's what I like, and I love the wireless sensors on here. So basically, instead of having just one sensor at the top like the old Ultimark, this one is of course using 4, so you got one on each corner, so it makes it much more accurate. And not only is it much more accurate and it feels less like a Wii remote, but an actual light gun, which is fantastic, and you'll see some of that during the gameplay. It's much more responsive in movement and all that stuff, kind of like the Sinden light guns that are out there as well, similar to that. But in this case, you don't have to recalibrate it ever again, and they're really easy to set up with MAME and all that stuff. Literally, I calibrated it once with the software that it came with, and I've never had to recalibrate it again. And once you calibrate it, you're good to go, and it doesn't matter, you know, if you move from the center of the room, it always knows what the center is, and you're good to go, and they work fantastic. You do have to stand a little bit further away. Like, you can't stand right on top of the screen. I have to stand like a few feet back, but they also do sell He also sells a piece that you can put on the lens that's basically like a magnifying glass, so you can stand a little bit closer, which I may consider in the future. But regardless, fantastic guns, guys. Now, obviously, I don't have Sin and Light Guns to compare this to. I know some of you guys are obviously really excited about that one. From what I hear, these are really comparable as far as how well they work and stuff, but there's no border needed on your games, and it's a lot easier to set up because you don't have to worry about those borders. So it's a give and take. You got something like this that needs sensors on all four corners, and it works fantastic, or you use Sin and Light Gun and there is no sensors, but it relies on having a white border around the picture. So obviously caveats to everything on which direction you want to go, but I'm really impressed with these guns, and I'm really happy with these. Like, they're tenfold so much better than what I had before. I'll have the link in the description on where you can mod your own guns and stuff like that if you want to. Now let's talk about the actual system that they have here. So as I said, the system that I'm using here is actually by another company, and it's Retro Lizards Arcades. He's been fantastic. You know, he does arcade machines for people, and he also does these specific builds. He has a build for Sinden. He has a build for you know, Gun4IR like I have. He has a build for, you know, all these different light gun machines, and he has other things on his website. Make sure you check that out below if you guys are interested in something like this. Basically, it means that when you plug in your light guns and you calibrate it, your system will be all set up and ready to go. And this is his system here. He uses Launchbox. He has over 140 games, if I remember correctly, of light guns on here. So you can see here he has a bunch of different categories for light guns. You have the Wii category, Asmowave, Sega Master System, Model 2, Model 3, Naomi, PlayStation, PS2, Super Nintendo, Techno Pirate, Windows games, American Laser, Arcade, and then the general light gun category. So, you know, just to show you some of these that you can look at here. So if I were to click on Xbox, there's one game on there, it's Virtual Cop 3, and these light guns work perfectly with it. I've already tried that game and it works great. I'm just going to scroll through the menu to show you guys some of the games that you guys can expect on here if you guys were to order this system from him. So here we got the NES. So you got Duck Hunt, you got Barker's Bill, you got Gotcha Sport, Gumshoe, Hogan's Alley, Shooting Range, and Wild Gun. And again, these all come configured depending on which gun you choose. So if you were to choose, you know, the Gun4IR like I had, then it would be configured for that gun. And if you choose Sinden, then it would be configured for that. So here on the Wii, you got a bunch of different Wii games on here: All Around Hunter, Arcade Shooting, Big Buck Hunter Pro, Buck Fever, Dino Strike, Ghost Squad, Ghost Slingers, Link's Crossbow, fun game, Mad Dog, Martian Panic, Nerf Strike, North American, Remington, Resident Evil, Dark Side Chronicles, Umbrella Chronicles, Sin and Punishment, Sniper Elite, Target Terror, Top Shot Arcade. So a bunch of different games there on the Wii for you to check out. And then here we have Asmowave, so you can check out some of these: Extreme Hunting 2, Ranger Mission, Sega Clay Challenge, and Sports Shooting USA. So a bunch of different games there. And you got the Sega category here. We have Brave Firefighters on here. All neatly organized with some nice artwork and stuff. I believe this is the Master System, so you got a few games here: Shooting Gallery, Rescue Mission, Rambo 3, Marksman Shooting, Gangster Town, and Assault City. So some games on here. And then you got the Sega Model 2. You got Behind Enemy Lines, Gunplay New York, The House of the Dead 2, Rail Chase 2, Virtual Cop 2. Then you got, of course, the Model 3, LA Machine Guns, The Lost World, Jurassic Park, The Ocean Hunter, and Star Wars Trilogy Arcade. Then you got Sega Naomi, Confidential Mission, Death Crimson OX, The House of the Dead 2, Lupin the Third, Maniac Panic Ghost, Manzin, The Maze of the Kings, and Ninja Assault. Some of these games I've never even played before, so it's exciting to have these on here and be able to play these and experience some new light gun games that I've never played before. So we got some of those. Then we got some PlayStation ones here as well. Elemental Gearbolt, Judge Dredd, Point Blank 3, and Project Orange Owl. And just to mention too, I'm running all of these games pretty much perfectly, except for a couple PlayStation 2 games that I'm about to show you that that sometimes don't run perfectly, like Time Crisis, but they run pretty well, and that's just with the 1030 card. NVIDIA 1030 runs 95% of everything on this build perfectly. So Ninja Assault, Time Crisis 3, Time Crisis 2, Time Crisis Crisis Zone, and Vampire Knight. So yeah, most of these games run well. Like I said, over 95% on just the Time Crisis games and a couple of PS2 games that don't run at full speed. Sometimes it lags a little bit, but overall, PS2 I think is the only one that has a couple of issues with the 1030 card, but everything else is flawless. Battle Clash, Bazooka, and Super Scope 6 on the Super Nintendo there. My favorite category is Techno Pirate, because Techno Pirate is the emulator that basically houses a bunch of games that they're bringing over from the actual arcades that we might even have seen at Dave & Buster's and stuff that are out of the arcades, and they eventually bring it over for us to play at home. Like this Transformers game, which is fun, Star Trek Voyager, Sega Golden Gun, Rambo, Luigi's Mansion Arcade, Let's Go Jungle, Special, House of the Dead 4, Far Cry Paradise Lost, and Dream Raiders, so fantastic there. And then another really good category that he has is these Windows games that he's configured to work with guns as well. Aliens Extermination, Bonsai Escape 2, Block King, Blue Estate, Friction, Gaia Attack, Haunted Museum 2, Heavy Fire, Afghanistan, Heavy Fire, Shattered Spear, The House of the Dead 3, Let's Go Island 3D, Mad Bullets, A Mobile Suit Gundam, Music Gun, Operation Ghost, and Reload, Silent Hill the Arcade, and Time Crisis 5, which this one plays fantastic, and The Typing of the Dead, Overkill. So, a lot of fantastic games on here for you to be able to play, like I said, and it gives you a really, really good variety of all the different games. And of course, I'm not going to go through the whole entire list because there's no point, because we all probably know them. But obviously the arcade section here is all the main arcade light gun games that you expect, like Area 51, Buck Hunter, all these different ones that are on here. The original Jurassic Park, Lethal Enforcers, all these different ones. Operation Wolf, Point Blank 1 and 2, Police Trainer, of course, is on here. Terminator 2 is on here, the original Time Crisis, Versus series. So a bunch of different games for you to explore on here if you guys want to. So a lot of fun games, like I said, that he has on this build, guys. If you want to check out his light gun build, he also has other builds, and like I said, he also builds full arcade machines for you guys. If you guys don't want to build this thing from scratch and you want a full PC build with these light gun games ready to go, like I built the PC myself and then I got his light gun build on it, but you can get the PC built with everything ready to go outside of the box, and even get the arcade machine fully built out if you want to, if you're in the local area of where he is. So check out in the video below here, check out in the description for his link to his website. You can go ahead and check it out. It makes things a lot easier to be able to set up as things are ready to go when you get in. So let's get into some gameplay now so you guys can get an idea on how accurate these guns are. So let's go ahead and start off with a quick game of my favorite. Oops, I went to the wrong spot here. Let's go back to one of my favorite games that I have on here that I always go back to, and that's Area 51. It's one of my favorite games from back in the arcades. So you just go ahead and click on play. So here, of course, we're playing one player. As you can see, my blue cursor is already moving on the screen. I'm just going to insert some coins. And we're going to go ahead and press start. And you can see how accurate this is moving on the screen. Look how fast and how accurate this tracking is, guys. Moving left, right, up, down. It works perfectly in every corner. Shoot off the screen, of course. Like, look at that accuracy. It's pinpoint. It feels much more like a light gun than the old system, Ultimark, that I had, where it felt more like a Wii remote. So yeah, really, really accurate. It makes the game so much more fun to play because it just works that much better. you guys get the idea. You guys get the idea with that game. Let's go ahead and show you guys another one. Got some Model 3, The Lost World Jurassic Park. Of course, this being a Jurassic Park themed cabinet, might as well show you a Jurassic Park game here on the Model 3. See my cursor there on the screen already. Moving really accurately along the screen, like I said. Left, right, up, down. Look how much more accurate. If you guys have used the Ultimark light guns before, you know how much better this is. Like, this is keeping track of my gun and accuracy so much better. Makes the game so much more fun to play. Not having to worry about calibration ever again. Insert a coin here.
They wiped us out. We gotta save Ian and Sarah.
So here it is here. The Lost World Jurassic Park running on the Model 3. Accurate as it's ever been.
Where's Sarah and Ian? They went to the laboratory. You can find them with this detector. Look out!
But yeah, you guys get the idea with this one as well. Works really, really well. So if we click on Techno Pirate, like I said, one of my favorite categories because I love what they do. One of the newer games that released is actually Far Cry Paradise Lost. They do have House of the Dead 4, but you guys have probably seen this one a lot. So I'm going to do Far Cry Paradise Lost instead, and maybe Transformers because I love that game on how it looks. So let's go ahead and do this one. Alright, so you can see here it says pull trigger to start. And there's our cursor here. So you got the island, you got the native village, the fortress, all these different ones that you can do. We're just going to go ahead and start at the island. So here we are at the island of Far Cry. Whoever has played Far Cry probably recognizes this area like I do. And here we are playing some Far Cry. Accurate as always. We all recognize that main character, I'm sure. But yeah, you guys get the idea with this game as well. That's a fantastic game to play with light guns and really, really fun. Let's show you one more Techno Pirate game, so let's show you Transformers. Here we are with Transformers.
Wait, Sam. Do I really have to deliver the device with this ice girl? Sam! Sam!
Decepticons are approaching.
Decepticons?
You are their target.
What?
Pick up your gun.
Who will drive the car?
I will take over from here.
Whoa! Are you kidding? What is that? What am I? We are aware of the situation. Now enter the river and there means Squad 3 there.
Roger that.
There are so many enemies and they came out of nowhere.
We are about to reach the assembly point.
That's some Transformers as well. That's a really, really fun light gun game. Then we get to the Windows category. Like I said, that's really fun. We're going to do 2 games from here. So we are going to do, we'll do House of the Dead 3, so you guys can take a look at this one.
Let's do it. Yes, sir. Are we the only ones left? Get off the spot. Man, we're running out of time. Let's move on. We can't forget our mission. We can't let everyone's death be in vain. Hurry!
That's another one for you guys. That's House of the Dead 3. Again, that's running on the PC. So that one's really good. And then we're going to end it off with Time Crisis 5, which is also a really fun game. Alright, so here we are with Time Crisis. So Time Crisis games on here can only be played one player, so you can't play anything but one player on the Time Crisis games on here, so just so you guys know. It's the only game that I've come across so far. There's not that many. There's a few others, but most of the games can be played 2-player. Time Crisis 5 is unfortunately just 1 player.
What a waste of a perfectly good resort hotel.
Alright, vacation time's over. We're here to seize the silver key from Wild Dog's possession. Robert's our negotiator. You're his backup. Got it?
Got it. Yeah. Are we ready?
Robert, enter Wild Dog's room.
Don't mess this up, Chief.
I'm going to skip the cutscene for you guys, but
I'll provide your
you guys
support.
get the idea.
Action.
So there's no cursor on, as you can see, there's no cursor on screen. But I can still tell exactly where I need to shoot because of how accurate these guns are. So this game specifically shows how good these guns are.
Storm in, just like we planned.
Don't let Wild Dog escape. Action. Forward. Action. It's just another enemy now. Reload the propane tanks and wipe them out. Reload.
And there's Area 1 for you guys on Time Crisis 5 with no cursor on screen. So that gives you guys an idea of, how well that actually works. So, all right, guys. So that was a look into my Jurassic Park gun machine. Really, really impressed with all of it. So basically, from the cabinet itself, from Game Room Solutions, I'm a little wary of sometimes of Game Room Solutions. based on some past history, but this cabinet is done really well. The artwork looks fantastic. It wasn't that hard to put together. It would just been 10 times easier if they actually had some goddamn instructions in the box that you can actually use, or at least an online tutorial video that wasn't made by someone else but made by them, so it was more of a step-by-step guide. But still, once I put it together, as you can tell, it looks fantastic and it's a lot of fun to play. So I don't really have any complaints with the actual cabinet besides the caveat on it may take you a little longer because the instructions are terrible as usual. Other than that, great. Moving on to the guns, it was worth every penny to get my Ultimar guns upgraded. Again, he could do other guns as well. You're going to have to ask him which other guns you guys have. I know he does gun cons from the PlayStation 2 and stuff like that. Again, link in the description if you want to check those out. The guns are fantastic. It was worth every penny that I did. He did it in literally 2 days and less than that, and then he sent it right back to me and I was up and running. There was a couple of questions I had and he easily, answered me immediately and got me up and running within like 2 minutes. So it's been fantastic. I haven't had any issues with the gun since, and they both work really, really well. As you guys saw throughout all that gameplay, they're really accurate, and the sensors, the wireless sensors are the way to go in my opinion on this cabinet here, because it's a lot easier instead of wiring cables around, especially with how small this cabinet is. So it works perfectly, and the battery life for 40 hours of for using AA is fantastic. So really, really happy with these guns, guys. I can't compare them to Sin and Light guns because I've never owned them. I imagine that these are probably just as good as Sin and Light guns. They're probably on the same level, just using different technology. This one has a camera on the gun that's following these 4 sensors on screen, so it's really accurate. I never have to calibrate it except once. And then the Sin and Light gun is kind of the same mentality, except you don't use the sensors on the board like this, but then you obviously have to have the white borders that we all know of. So depending on which direction you want to go, I'm really happy with these, and I have no interest in getting the Sin and Light guns anymore, because these are probably just as good at just using different tech, slightly different way of actually determining the screen. So, and it's easier to set up. From what I hear, the Sin and Light guns, since you have to set up the borders and stuff, sometimes it's a pain. From what I hear to set up, it's definitely more complicated than this. From what I hear, again, I don't have them, so I can't comment too much, but these were a breeze to set up. I know that for a fact. These worked, just as a mouse, and the light guns were easy to set up, and there was no software extra to configure after you got them calibrated once. Moving on to the actual system that I use, and like I said, I'm using somebody named Retro Lizards Arcades. He builds arcade machines for people in the local area, and he also does light gun builds, either PCs or just sending external drives if you already have a PC. He does racing ones, I believe, as well. He's done the Star Wars build one as well. So he does fantastic work, and he gave me this light gun build for this machine, and all the games that I showed you guys, and they all ran great. There was a couple of issues that I had with a couple of them, and he remoted onto my computer through TeamViewer that night, and I was all set up and going, and he got everything up and working. So fantastic, and I would definitely check him out if you're looking for an easy plug and play solution when it comes to light guns with either Sinden or with these Gun4IRs. Check out his build and check out his link below, because it was fantastic. So guys, really, really happy with this build overall. If you guys have any questions about anything you guys have seen here today, as always, leave it down below. If not, thank you guys for watching. Till next time.